Hey, what's up everyone? Accel here, and today I'll be trying something different. I'll be going over my UUPL Week 1 game versus my good friend, Killintime. And for those who are unaware, UUPL X, meaning UUPL the 10th, is an annual UU team tournament that features gameplay in every tier between SS Underused, or the current gen tier, and GSC UU. So I've been playing Gen 6 UU since the tournament started, and it's been pretty fun. I haven't played the tier since it was current gen, but the meta's adapted and come a long ways since then. And I could talk about the team a little bit. Here I have the sets. So Seismitoad's a fairly cookie cutter stealth rocker, arguably the best rocker at the moment, given current trends. Heracross is one of the better fighting types of choice, especially after Conkeldurr leaving. We've mainly seen Mienshao, Cobalion, and Heracross running the show. And Heracross is good over Mienshao and Cobalion as fighters because you can see here that it has favorable matchups against teams that usually rely on Slowking and Mandibuzz, which is a really common core. So before watching this replay, you can expect Heracross to do things in this game. As for the rest of the team, Metagross complements Heracross pretty well because it deals with checks such as Crobat that can threaten Heracross out, and in general it's great for spreading residual damage via Toxic while retaining some offensive presence with Mash and EQ. I'm not really high on Whimsicott. I feel like it just doesn't provide any particular role to a good extent, but it does exactly what I need it to do on this team. Stun Spore complements Heracross really nicely and patches up any speed related worries. Leech Seed obviously complements everything on the team in conjunction with U-Turn, and Moonblast is your standard attacking move to make sure that it's just not a passive entity that just stays there. Mandibuzz is similar to Seismitoad in that it is one of the best removers in the tier and is very splashable because it offers a ton of good defensive roles and security versus threats like Gyarados and a lot of other big meta threats. And last, I have Crobat here, which has developed a long way since Conk meta, where it's forced to run options such as Itemless or even Haze, but after Conk, it's pretty damn good. You can run Skyplay for the extra bravery damage, you can run Goggles to stop something like Sleep Powder, Roserade, or even Stun Spore Whimsicott. And Taunt is a game changer. It can change so many interactions throughout the game and just force certain passive walls into sequences that favor you and your team. But yeah, that's enough about the team. Let's get on with the gameplay. So at preview, as mentioned earlier, I know my Heracross is primed for some big results in this game, and my aim with it is to be as dominant with it as possible. Every other Mon on my team has more or less an even matchup. Maybe Crobat can get some things done with Skyplate and Brave Bird, seeing as there's no flying resist. But yeah, Heracross is definitely the MVP here. As for Killintime's team, Darmanitan is a threat and a half because Seismitoad usually shoulders a lot of weight. It's checking a lot in game, and you can see here that it may come into Slowking to try and sponge Scalds. It might come into Cobalion to try and check it, since it's the best Cobalion check on my team. And the list goes on, so you get what I'm trying to say here. Mienshao is always a threat because it can carry Jab for Whimsicott, Stone Edge for Bat. This Cobalion is a big threat too, because my fighting resistances aren't exactly great against it. And Setao has some tough walls to get through here, and his Slowking and Mandibuzz aren't really making some offensive progress, though he did use a cool Slowking set, which we'll get to. But on with the game. I lead Crobat here because he doesn't have a flying resist, and I can force something favorable on my end, and he leads with his Darmanitan. So at preview, I have to respect Choice Scarf, don't I? Because it can KO variants of Bat. And looking at his team, I had a feeling it was choice band, but you can't exactly risk that turn 1, can you? So I make the safe play. I go hard Seismitoad, and look at that Flare Blitz. Holy crap. It does almost 50. And immediately I'm made aware of the fact that this is indeed choice band. And here I'm in a tough situation because I can try to make the aggressive play and get rocks up, assuming that he will switch out, which will help to limit this in the future. Or I can avoid the worst case scenario of him potentially blitzing again and then removing the only fire resistance I have on my team, because look at everything else. Everything else just gets toasted. So I do end up going with Scald as it prevents the worst case scenario from happening. And fortunately for me, he banks on his aggression. He expects me to stealth rock. And I get the Scald play right, and Darmanitan is out for the count. At turn 2 as well, which is humongous for this game. He sends Cobalion out to try and finish Seismitoad off. And I have to switch out because Seismitoad can still be decent to get rocks up in this game on either of these two Slivermons. But he makes a good play. He gets rocks up. And here, Heracross on these sorts of teams is more often than not going to be a Sword Stance variant. But like I had to respect Choice Scarf on his Darmanitan at preview, he has to respect Choice Scarf on my Heracross. And he switches out into Slowking. And here I could talk a little bit about game states and recognizing the pace of the game, or your opponent's tendencies and how they're willing to play. So you can see with Darmanitan here, that he tried to play it really aggressively into Toad, and it didn't work out for him. So usually, after losing a big portion of your team here, or a big component rather, your aim is to try and get back into the game as soon as you can. And I realized that here. He probably knows that I am a ST, and that a Megahorn is incoming on the Slowking since he went to sponge that close combat. But here, he's probably going to try to dance around it and go to a Megahorn resist such as Mienshao or Cobalion. And what do? I call that out. I flip the switch of aggression that he switched on at the start of the game with his Darmanitan, and I close combat the incoming Mienshao. So immediately you can see that turn 5, I've taken out 2 of his biggest threats, which is huge for me. And I do want to talk about something more important here, which is to not throw away a lead when you have it. And as the game progresses, you can see that I indeed made it closer than necessary. But yeah, taking your foot off the gas isn't really a good idea after you have a lead. You can't let it go to your head, you have to buckle down and see the match out until you see yourself on the winning screen. There's really no other option. Here, Heracross is forced out because he can try to fish for a Dragon Pulse crit, and it's -1, which would take me out. So I go into Mandibuzz here. Tanks the Dragon Pulse pretty well. And here I can get a free roost off as he goes to Cobalion. And this is an important sequence of the game because he Sword Stances up, I defog the rocks away, and he gets a massive 70% off on my Mandibuzz, as I'm forced to U-turn out and go to Metagross because Crobat won't take it out with Brave Bird. He can switch out of Whimsicott, expecting Stun Spore, which I did have. And Metagross, on the other hand, tanks a +2 CC and can retaliate with Earthquake. Even if it's Shuka Berry and lives the Earthquake, it's low enough to the point where Brave Bird or Moonblast can take it out from either of my faster mons. And he has to respect that, so he switches out into his Mandibuzz. And here, I protect just to condition him a little bit, see what he's going to go for. He initially opts for U-turn, which is fine, but he doubles down and makes a good play here, which is to foul play the Metagross and chunk away a lot of its health. I get a Toxic off though, which is really huge in regards to Crobat, since Brave Bird will be more effective against Mandibuzz now, since it can't roost them off as well, now that it's Toxic. So, Toxic Protect is a fairly standard combo, and I go for it here, just to get some leftovers back, get some Toxic damage on him. And then I go to Whimsicott, as he U-turns out, back into Cobalion here. And here, I have to go for Stun Spore, because if I Stun Spore it, my MVP here, Heracross, is in such a good position. And that's exactly what I go for. Unfortunately, I do miss here, as he iron heads me for big damage. But nevertheless, my play is to stun sport again, and luckily I actually end up on top here since I got 2 cycles of leftovers, with both of these turns canceling each other out effectively. Here I have a pretty safe Moonblast, and unfortunately he gets full parried, which sucks for him, but I take advantage of it. I U-turn back out into Metagross as he gets rocks up, and here he wants to preserve his Cobalion, which is fair. He goes to Slowking on the Earthquake, and here he reveals the coolest Slowking set you'll ever see, which is Block. And immediately, I'm scared for my life. I know what I have to do. Because Block Slowkings usually run Rest to counteract any potential status such as Toxic or even a Burn. And my out here is to try and get a Meteor Mash boost, and then Earthquake him off of those boosts to try and force him out. So I go for Meteor Mash here as he Coal Mines up. No boost so far. I Meteor Mash again, and fortunately I do get the boost this time. So pretty lucky on my end. I got it well before odds. And now I can start Earthquaking to try and pressure him. And you can see it's doing 37, which is not a 3 KO, factoring in leftovers over the 3 turns. But it's forcing him into a very linear situation. And here, this is a huge turn. He wakes up, and he Scalds, which crits, but does not burn, which is really fortunate for me. And here he's forced out because Slowking is low, so he goes to Cobalion, which tanks the Earthquake with Shuka. I protect to get some leftovers back as he close combats, and I Earthquake it to finish it off. So Cobalion's gone. It's looking really good for me, 6 against 3. But again, I stressed to you guys earlier that if you have a lead, you absolutely have to hold on to it. Because if you let it go, your opponent, especially if they're really skilled as Killintime is, can try to capitalize off of it. And you can see here that that's exactly what he does. He's trying to bait me into choking and throwing my Metagross away, when it is the only stop to Sceptile. And realistically, looking at his team, Sceptile is the only Pokemon that can try to make a comeback here. With a crit Dragon Pulse on Heracross, same for Crobat after rocks. Whimsicott is low, so it can't really handle it, and same for Mandibuzz, since with rocks up, it's going to be coming in at just 5%. So Metagross was really the only Sceptile check I had left, in a sense, between that, Crobat, and Heracross. And it's my mistake here that I let Metagross die to Foul Play, which is really bad on my end because now Sceptile has a window. And this is even bigger of a blunder here. I try to defog away the rocks so that crit chances don't come into play versus Heracross or Crobat. But you'll see here that Killintime has a really smart Mandibuzz spread that is faster than other Mandibuzzes. And he takes me out with U-turn. So rocks are here to stay for me, and I can't do anything about it. He goes back to Slowking as I bring in Heracross, and this is a free Mega Horn for me. Fortunately, I hit. Mandibuzz takes a huge 47, and close combat's pretty free for me here, which is exactly what I go for, and the Mandibuzz is out for the count. Now you'll see here that his play is to force me out with that crit Dragon Pulse that I was talking about, and the roll on that is from around 86 to north of 100. Just on regular Heracross without any drops, so it's in his favor. He goes for it here. Seismitoad isn't doing me any favors late into the game with Sceptile and Slowking left, so I choose to get rid of it. Crobat forces the Sceptile out with Brave Bird, and you can see the power of Skyplate Brave Bird here. It does 40 damage, which is really good. And he has to respect the fact that I'm taunt, so I go for Brave Bird again. And he unfortunately does not get a Skull Burn on me, so again, very lucky for me. And now Sceptile's the last one standing. Takes out Crobat with a Dragon Pulse. Whimsicott is in range of one of its stat moves, or grass moves rather. So Whimsicott's not a good check since it can't Stun Spore it, based on the grass mechanics of the gen. And now I'm relying on Heracross hitting Mega Horn, and Sceptile not critting Dragon Pulse. So it's very winnable for him. But fortunately for me, Dragon Pulse does not crit, Mega Horn does hit, and I win the game. And that is it for my Week 1 ORAS UU game versus my good friend Killintime. I hope you guys enjoyed the analysis. Again, like I said, it's something new that I'm trying to do here. So let me know in the comments down below if I missed anything or if there's anything that I can do better. I'm always trying to improve. That's really the point of these videos, really. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, until next time, see you later. Peace.